Hey scholars, this is Jennifer from Ask Scholars, and welcome back to another video on our series of how to get a 36 on the ACT. Today, we're going to go over commonly missed questions on the ACT English section and how to avoid these mistakes in order to be successful. So let's hop onto the questions. Alright, so right here I have the 2019 to 2020 ACT practice test. It is officially released by the ACT company, and it's going to be in the description below if you're interested in taking this test for yourself. But specifically, we're going to look at question number 7. And before I tell you exactly what this type of mistake is, we're just going to read the question and see how we're going to eliminate the answers in order to get the best possible answer. So as you look at number 7, that's going to be this section right here, as I highlight. So we're just going to read the sentence before and up to the underlined part. So, inside a dinosaur charges through shredded pages of the open book. More creations appeared at more than a few additional places where literature and artifacts are related to books and writing. So that's pretty straightforward. It sounded relatively okay in my opinion. And as you notice, like in the ACT English section, they don't give you like any sort of question technically. What they do is that they just give you options, and you basically have to choose the one that would make the most sense or is the one that's most coherent. And that's really critical to understand. It has to be coherent and concise. So we're going to read our options and we're going to do a process of elimination to find out what the best possible answer is. Alright, so for A, it says no change. So let's read the question or the sentence again and see if that sounds okay. More creations appeared at more than a few additional places where literature and artifacts are related to books and writing. Now, when I read that, I feel like it's a little repetitive in this part right here. A few additional. I think like in this part you have two adjectives that are quantitative. Usually you use the word few and the word additional to describe like numbers. And it sounds really repetitive. It makes sense, but it's repetitive and unnecessary. So we're gonna cross out A for now, but we'll keep an open mind in case the other options are less coherent. I'm going to read the sentence with option B. More creations appeared at a number of additional cultural institutions supporting intellectual endeavors dedicated to promoting books and writing. Now, when you read that sentence, it's very word heavy and it sounds maybe a little too descriptive. You know, they're saying cultural institutions right here. Like what exactly do they mean by that? And when they say, you know, supporting intellectual endeavors dedicated to promoting books and writing, that just is very awkward sounding. And, you know, it's not completely wrong. We'll keep that open. I'm going to mark that here. We'll keep that open as an option. It sounds a little awkward and it's a little word heavy, but we'll see if we have more coherent options. Again, we're looking for a most coherent and clear option, and we're going to keep finding that in case there is a better answer. Okay, so now we're going to read it with option C. More creations appeared at quite a lot of other cultural institutions characterized by loyalty and dedication to books and writing. Look at that sentence right here. That's actually not the most grammatically professional way of saying, you know, a large number of something. And, you know, when you see the words a lot together, that's kind of like a red flag. It's most likely not going to be your answer because it's a bit more informal, and we'll keep that as an option. It's not the best option there is, but we're going to see if D makes the most sense, and we'll go on from there. D. More creations appeared at several libraries and museums devoted to books and writing. Now, when you read that sentence, that sounds the most coherent. It's the shortest as well. And it's very clear. It gets straight to the point, and it's exactly what the ACT English section is looking for. So I think it's going to be D. And when we look at the answer key, it's actually D. That's going to be your answer. And the trick to, answering these types of questions is to usually choose an option with like the least number of words. And I say that you should still read your answer and make sure it makes sense. But most of the time, when it comes to questions like these that are about coherency, it's usually the one with the least words, because the less words you have, the quicker you get to the point. And that's exactly what the ACT English section is for. So we're going to move on to another question, and yeah. Okay, so now we're going to focus on question number 28 on the same test, and I'm going to read the sentence that includes part 28. In 2002, the company that had donated thousands of corks to Pollux project sponsored the vessel's launch in Portugal. So now when we look at our options, we have the options no change, company, comma, which, company, whom, and lastly, company, comma, who. So just by process of elimination and basic grammatical rules, we can cross out J. And the reason we can cross out J immediately is because when you're using comma, who right here, who is only used when you actually have a person that you're focusing on, or the subject basically. And in this case, company is not necessarily a person, and when you have a non-human thing or a non-living object, you cannot use who. You have to use which or that. And that also helps us eliminate option H, whom is only used for like living things. So that leaves us with option F and G. Now, this is kind of a tricky question because when we use the word which, it's very natural. It's used in our everyday conversation, but it's actually not the most grammatically formal word to use when it comes to ACT English or even English in general. So this question is more based on, what you already know, and G isn't necessarily wrong. It's just actually not the best answer. You want to try avoiding the word which as much as possible when you're taking the English section, and you want to try to use the word that as it shows here in 28. So your option would be F. That would be your answer. It's the best possible option because it doesn't use whom or who, which is only used for, more living things technically, and which is more of a colloquial term that's more informal, and it's not as great of an answer than the word that. So F will be your final answer. So be careful for tricks like that. We're going to go look at question number 57. So 57 is referring to this sentence right here. The observatory takes volunteers and accepts interns who assist with research. The bold can take part in educational trips to the summit in winter. So this is a tricky question because there can be multiple correct answers, but the ACT only has one proper correct answer to this. So we're going to look at our options and you'll see what I mean. So for A, it's saying no change. And, when we read those two sentences together, it sounds all right. We're looking for something that will connect these two sentences together, but, leaving them separate, it sounds okay. So we're going to leave that as an option. So now we're going to look at B. and I'm going to read it with option B. The observatory takes volunteers and accepts interns who assist with research, and the bold can take part in educational trips to the summit in winter. Now that makes sense when you use the conjunction and we're definitely going to leave that open. It's not necessarily wrong, but we have two viable options that could be our potential answer. So right now we're just going to put a check mark next to A and B, just to show that they're valid options. Okay, now we're going to read it with C. The observatory takes volunteers and accepts interns who assist with research, but the bold can take part in educational trips to the summit in winter. Now, the thing with this conjunction but, you only use but when there's some sort of contrast or contradicting statement between the two sentences. And here, these two sentences are more of just like, additional information. There's nothing being compared. So because of that, we know that C is not an option. Now we're going to read it with D. The observatory takes volunteers and accepts interns who assist with research. The bold can take part in educational trips to the summit in winter. So that's definitely clearly wrong because there's no conjunction. It's basically like a fragment or some sort of run-on sentence, and that's not allowed because whenever you use a comma or you have two sentences that want to be connected together, you need some sort of conjunction, and D does not have any of that. So now we're down to options A and B. And this is something the ACT does do pretty often, so it's good to be on the lookout for that. So A and B, they both could potentially work. A leaves it as two separate sentences, and B basically adds a conjunction and. But if you look at B a lot more closely, you can see that there is actually no comma in between the words research and. And that's basically something really minor that you have to really identify. Whenever you're using a conjunction in order to connect two emphasis on independent sentences, you need to have a comma. And that's basically, a grammatical rule. And because of that, your best option would be A, and that's your final answer. So it's really good to be on the lookout for like these really tiny details. And, the ACT wants you to choose the most coherent and concise answer that has the least amount of grammatical errors. And again, just like question number 57, you can have multiple correct answers, but they want you to choose the best possible one. So I hope that this video helps you a lot, and if you have any more questions, you can always drop a comment down in the comment section below, or you can contact us through our Contact Us page on our website, which can be found in the description below. So thank you guys for watching, and good luck studying for the ACT!